Jebediah. I want to state categorically and for the record that swamps suck. Swamps stink and they're covered in flies and biting things who have never even heard of Vegas, and once my mom comes to get me, we're driving out of here and we're never coming back, and I'm taking Jebediah with me. Categorically and for the record. They say that on the lawyer shows that Mom would always watch when we were living in the city. You know, the ones where there's always someone crying because they didn't do it or whatever, and the girl attorney always makes some stupid speech and wins them like $1 million. It was April last year we moved there. Until December, Mum couldn't get enough of these shows. She'd watch them on a loop. I'd be like, can we go outside? And she'd be like, shh, Ally McBeal. I didn't mind though. It's good to see her sitting down. We've moved around a lot in the 11 years I've been alive. Stepdad was always telling me to get on with my homework instead of running all over Central Park while Mum watched TV. Mum was right. He really stopped being fun quickly as soon as he had us holed up there. He was more fun when we met him in New Mexico. He and Mum hit it off while I hit the slot machines in this freaky old casino for about 3 hours while they blared on and on about everything in the world. Slots aren't my favourite. I'm a poker girl, but the big casinos tend to have a problem with a kid beating their asses at poker, so slots it was. I think I got drunk on the coloured lights and that crazy ding noise because at the end of the night I was all like, Mom, you should marry him. And she was all like, but a good not like this meat is rubbery or your foster mum wants you to pray before meals kind of a For the record, they say that too in those shows, for the record, it makes things official, like you can't argue with it. For the record, homework wasn't really a problem for me. The school even talked about skipping me forward a bunch of grades, but then we moved on. Stepdad worked in New York. When men work, it means they get up before everyone else has left the house, drive around in a really big car, arrive at home late, and hole up in their study smoking disgusting smelling cigarillos and making really loud phone calls to other guys who are probably doing the same thing. As I said, he was a total bore, and once Mum had watched all the shows there were left to watch, we got the hell out of there. Apparently I'm related to the family I'm staying with here in Louisiana. For the record, I'm going to call them the Swamp People from now on. The social worker nearly did a backflip when he found out that there was a relative willing to take me on near where everything happened. He'd been muttering under his breath all day about these assholes hitting the road with kids and no thought about contingency plans. I told him that I liked his use of the word contingency and that I bet it made him feel really smart not to say back up like those uneducated folks might. We didn't talk a lot after that. I wanted to go stay with Grandma in Virginia, but apparently she's not up to it after last time. Thanks, Grandma. She's also not really my grandma, so there's that. Back when I was little, maybe 5 or 6, we lived in this casino on the outskirts of Philly for a while. Mom was working there. It was one of the times she worked as a waitress. She tries to avoid this because there's plenty of husbands out there, but she was between. Anyway, she worked in this casino, and because I was a little kid, she'd have to take me along with her when she was working. The people who owned the casino decided to have some kind of a moral problem with this, which is pretty ironic, I think. But whatever, so she'd hide me in the back with Grandma. As I said, Grandma wasn't really my grandma. Grandma was this weird old lady who was there every day. We'd sit and do equations together while she'd put quarters into the machines. Every now and then she'd hug me and cry a little bit, but I put up with that because I loved the math. Eventually Mom met this guy who owned the shoemaking business. He was okay, and we moved in with him in Pittsburgh. But then he turned out to be cheating on Mom, so we ended up staying with Grandma. Grandma and I had the best time. We'd eat cookies and do math problems at night, and I'd hang out in the casino with her during the day. Mom, on the other hand, was still really sad about the shit guy and ended up drinking a lot and didn't even have a job. So in the end, Grandma had to kick us out. I was pretty sad about that. So was Grandma. She even offered to keep me, but Mum needs me, even if she doesn't show it all the time. So here I am now with the Swamp People. Aunt Ginny, Uncle Randy, and the 4 boys. I don't really know Aunt Ginny. We never even met until last Tuesday. Apparently, we were on our way to have lunch with them when what happened. Mom would mention her occasionally when she had drunk a few cocktails. Maybe a song would come on the radio and Mom would say something like, "Me and Ginny used to dance to this one." And I'd be like, "Who the fuck is Ginny? Were you a lesbian?" And she would laugh and not say anything else. Ginny looks kind of like Mom. If Mom had hadn't quit her donut addiction, stopped dyeing her hair, and had spent every day in the sun until her skin looked like a fruit roll-up. The four boys looked like Uncle Randy, Aunt Ginny's husband. They're square, with square heads, and they all squeeze onto this huge couch, chewing and watching sports. Apparently Randy is quite important around town, but I can't even imagine what he does unless he's a gum-testing sports commentator who works from home. Ginny keeps asking me to help her in the kitchen. I think she likes having another person in the house who does more than chew and watch sports. I can't really understand what she's saying when she talks, so I go outside a lot. So Louisiana. Apparently it's where quite a lot of my family live, although Mum ran away when she was a teenager. The others were raised by Grandpa, who's dead now, but there's a big picture of him standing looking pleased with himself by a dead gator in the hall. I don't ask, but I sometimes imagine that he was killed by the daughter of the dead gator. I picture it like an episode of one of Mum's shows. The gator daughter is in court wearing a pastel-fitted suit while the female lawyer makes this really moving speech about how she was just doing what gators do. So they award her $1 million and let her go back to the swamp. Because the town is so tiny, there isn't a school, and I'm getting homeschooled with the swamp boys. Every morning, Ginny clears away the mountain of breakfast things, scrapes the toast crumbs that cover everything onto the floor, and says, "Charlie, get me the schoolhouse tablecloth." Charlie is the older swamp boy. He's 15 and shy with terrible acne, but he knows the name of every single bird and bug outside. And he's the one they go to if they have a disagreement or something. He's got this real calm way about him, which is probably why Ginny relies on him to start the lessons every day. I call it school in the loosest possible sense. She has these weird books about math and Jesus, physics and Jesus, history and Jesus. I'm a big fan of recess. The most important thing about Louisiana, the reason that destiny sent me here, I'm pretty sure is Jebediah. I think Jebediah is going to change my life. Jebediah is a bullfrog. I met him in the swamp when I had a lot of time on my hands. Jebediah is also the name of Ginny's youngest son. I named Jebediah after him because the human Jebediah looks like a frog. Huge popping eyes and a tongue that's always on show when he's thinking. We'll be in the lesson, he'll be trying to do math and this huge red tongue will just pop out of his mouth like it's an antenna or something. I love math, but I can't stick around Jebediah too much when he's doing it because pretty soon, every time I do a problem, I'll think of Jebediah's big, red, gross tongue and I want to puke or something. Did you know that if you feed Mentos to a frog, then it makes him jump really high? Well, I didn't either, until Jebediah gave me some Mentos, and I fed one to frog Jebediah. I guess apart from the tongue thing, that Jebediah is probably the best one of the swamp people. You can be my swamp Billy husband until I get a better offer. It was at that point a plan came to mind. You see, one of the reasons we were jamming from New York, aside from stepdad being such a bore, was Vegas. We were headed to Vegas when we stopped here to check in, and what happened to Mom happened to Mom. It's always been about Vegas. Mom has some weird ideas about dancing in a show, which is probably something she saw on TV. But I want to play cards. You see, I'm not just good at maths, I'm good at cards. Grandma guaranteed that over those long, filly, stinking casino days, as soon as I'm old enough to convince someone at a table that I can be there, I'm going to make so much money. Then we can go wherever we want to. Hell, Mum can sit in the corner of our mansion watching programs about female lawyers while I do algebra problems on the wall in spray paint. So I'm out hanging about the swamp while everybody else is indoors screaming at some kind of sport on TV when I give Jebediah a Mento. I was being polite. I was eating one, he was there croaking away, so I put one on the pad he was sitting on, and he just slurped it up. And suddenly he jumps really high, like crazy, 8 foot high off the ground kind of thing. I know what you're thinking. I can hear your stupid voice now. It's Jeremiah, not Jebediah. She must be off her meds or something. I know this stupid song. Mom used to listen to it around the house when she was drinking. She got it from some Sandra Bullock movie about how cool rehab is, so she was totally missing the point. But hey, I know the stupid song. You try walking around in the bayou, hearing all the bullfrogs shouting at you. And they do, because they're really loud, like, back off, guys, I know you're there, kinda loud. But I double triple dare you to try walking through all of that shit with the bullfrogs screaming as you saunter by without that goddamn song getting stuck in your head. I bet you're singing it now. Go on, I'll wait. Not all bullfrogs can be called Jeremiah, people. We need one to stand out and be his own man. Well, that man is Jebediah, and he's one hell of a bullfrog. Jebediah and I met in the swamp. You see, there's not really houses in the town Jeannie and Randy live in. Not in the way there are, say, anywhere else in this country. There are these kind of run-down-looking shacks with front porches and chicken wire fences and broken-looking roads which make for bumpy car rides to the store or wherever. In between there's space, lots and lots of space. Ginny says it's because of Sam Phillips something National Park, which is nearby, plus gators and stuff. They have all this space everywhere, and up the road is a swamp where you can wander around and get lost for hours. Jebediah croaked at me one afternoon. I just cut myself and was in a really bad mood. Ginny had taken one look and laughed, and I'm all like, fine. But when a gator smells the blood and it comes after me, it's your fault. That made her laugh even harder, so I was real mad at having been laughed at and half hoping that gator came to eat me so she'd feel really bad. That's when Jebediah croaked at me. There are no bullfrogs in New York. When it gets dark in Central Park, it gets really quiet, sinister. Someone's gonna murder you if you don't get indoors immediately quiet. Here it's not like that. As soon as the sun goes down, this racket kicks off and it doesn't stop until dawn. All the creatures wake up and have a party at sundown around here. But all the bullfrogs go all day and all night. They're the biggest party animals of all, sitting on a pad in the murk, burping merrily. You try to hate a bullfrog, but you can't. They're just having a great time all the time. So I look over and there's Jebediah belching away, and I can't help but stop and say hello. I ended up lying down on my belly in the dirt beside the swamp so I was level with him. You know, the way you're supposed to do with dogs if they're mad. Not that you can do it with all the dogs in the city, all those stupid rats in handbags. You'd need an elevator that went underground to do that with them. But Jebediah was near enough. 4 hours later, I was still there, eyeball to eyeball with a green-brown, gigantic frog, merrily chomping away. He was the only cool thing I'd seen since I got here. Jebediah knew what living was. He was here in Sucky, Louisiana, and he didn't seem to mind. He'd hang out, lie around in the murky, stinky water, shout a bit, eat some bugs. He didn't move a whole lot. I rewarded him with Mentos, and you should have seen him shoot into the sky like a huge green comet. When he landed, he just went right back to hanging out, chewing on some filth. That's when I knew I was onto something. The next day at homeschool, I handed a note to boy Jebediah, laying down a challenge to the kids in the neighborhood. I wasn't sure if it would work. They were kind of snotty about me. But by 5:30 that evening, a crowd had assembled by the swamp. Catching enough frogs was hard, but we managed it, and the rest was taking candy from a baby. I worked the odds, and Jebediah did his bit. He leapt high in the air, so he was more like a bird than a frog. At the end of it, the Swamp Billy kids handed over their cash to me and declared me and Jebediah the winners. It felt really good, like they finally saw who I was for a minute. Jebediah 1 gave me a pat on the shoulder. Then Ginny came outside hollering that it was dinner time and everyone scattered. I might even miss those guys when Mom comes back to pick me up. I won't miss Jebediah though, because I'm not leaving him here. After the other kids left, I went back in the house and found a cardboard box that I fashioned some air holes in it. I can hear him now, croaking softly under the bed. Jebediah, my new best buddy, the one who will help me raise the money 1/4 at a time to get me and Mom to Vegas and our new amazing life. Sweet dreams, buddy.